Hey there everyone. In previous videos we've looked at the Garageband interface, we've looked at working with pre-recorded audio and MIDI loops, and in this next video we're going to look at creating our own audio from scratch using the built-in audio recording and MIDI capture facilities. That brings us on to recording, the record button. Now there's a couple of different things you can record. You've got audio and MIDI. We're going to look at audio first of all. It's pretty straightforward. I've created a new empty audio track. I'll do this by going to Track, New Track, selecting Real Instrument and clicking Create. First of all, I just want to check my routing. What that means is I want to check what's coming into it. Now I can see here that I've got signal from my microphone. But if that was not the case, the way we would go about sorting that out is you go to the Inspector button here. This Inspector button brings up all relevant information about your track. If you're in MIDI, it would show you the sounds that you had available. But we're interested in this part here, input source. I just want to check that I've got the right mic input selected. For you, it'd be built-in mic input. But I've got a different interface, so I'm selecting the input one. Make sure monitoring's off as well, otherwise you're likely to get feedback. And then once you've chosen that, I've got it on, my gain's controlled externally. If you keep it on automatic level control, that should make life a bit easier. And then all you need to do is drag it to where you want to start and press record, making sure your track is selected. Hey, this is just a recording test to make sure that everything's working okay. So let's have a listen to that now. Hey, this is just a recording test to make sure that everything's working okay. As you can see, that's working fine. You can now manipulate that like any other audio region in your project. Move it around, lengthen it, shorten it, all that kind of thing. So next up we're going to look at working with MIDI or MIDI data. Now one thing you'll notice if I double click on the voice recording that I made earlier, what you've got is it's called a waveform. So these peaks or squiggly lines or transients as they're known are all a visual representation of the audio you've captured. You can see when the instrument's playing and how loud it's playing, things like that. So with audio, what you see is what you pretty much get. You can't do that much to it after it's been captured apart from chop it up, break it into different sections. And that's where another kind of instrument comes in. So if I go to New Track, it's called a software instrument. Instead of having a physical, tangible instrument in front of you that you use a microphone to record, you have a virtual instrument that resides inside the computer and is controlled using your keyboards in front of you. So if I just playing some notes on my keyboard now, you can hear it's a grand piano sound. The beauty of MIDI, it can be whatever instrument you want. So if we look to the right of the screen, say I want an electric piano, just select it. If I want a synth lead, something powerful sounding. So that sounds pretty cool. Now because we're doing a techno kind of thing, I'm going to stick with that sound. I think that looks awesome. Now we want to, first of all, whatever you're going to play, you want to know what key you're in first of all. So I'm going to play the music. It sounds like the first note. Sounds like a C to me, so, and it's like we're in C minor. So anyway, I've worked out the notes that I'm going to be playing now, so I'm just going to play some kind of riff in C minor, see what it's like. So making sure I've got my track selected, I'm just going to click record. Okay, so you can see, whereas before we had audio waveforms, we've got something totally different on screen now. So I'm going to look in a bit more detail. We've got blobs of data that have appeared before us. Now, this means a number of different things. The benefits of MIDI, if you don't like what was just played in, I'm going to solo that now and listen to it. So you might have noticed the timing for starters has a lot to be desired. So all I'm going to do, I've got the region selected, which means all of the notes are selected, and I go to quantize, and now I want it to quantize it to 16th note resolution. Now what that means, in our grid, each of the beats are divided up into 4 bits. So this is bar 3, beat 1 is divided into 4, beat 2 is divided into 4, beat 3 and 4, beat 4, so on and so forth. If you add all that up, in one bar you've got 16 notes. So when I say I want to quantize to 16th notes, the computer is automatically going to slide each individual bit of MIDI data to the closest 16th note line. Alright, so if I click that, boom, you might have noticed there, I'm going to undo what we just did. Those notes that I played, that's how they were before. This is after I've quantized it. They're all lined up perfectly in time now. So let's have a listen again. Cool. So that's the beauty of MIDI. You can literally change everything after you've played it in. If you make a mistake, you can get the computer to go back and fix it for you. Now you can also change the notes that are being played. I'll show you that next. Say I want to make it all a bit higher so it sticks out in the mix a bit more. Just going to select all of the notes. I'm right now on C2, so I'm just going to move them all up by dragging to C3. And I'm going to unsolo it, see how that sounds with the rest of the music. Bring it down in volume a bit. There you go, so I've got my little riff. What I did there is shorten the region so that it fits perfectly within 4 bars. I did that by clicking and dragging the bottom right corner, and now I'm going to loop it. Just click and drag the top right corner so it just carries on going the whole way through. Now you might say change your mind about the sound on the channel. I quite like Lost in Trance, but if you did want to change it to something else, all you've got to do is go back to your information section and just try something else out. So here's Lightning Rod, let's see how that sounds. That's actually kind of cool, you could keep that. So onto project tempo. What a lot of people don't realise is that you can change the speed of any Apple loops or MIDI regions. So if you hear a loop that you like the sound of but it's a bit fast, no problem. And this is also the case for a whole project. Now, it can't change the speed of audio you've recorded, but if your song, you like it but you think, oh, actually I'd like to hear it a bit slower, go to the bar at the bottom and choose project mode. Now in this mode you'll notice the tempo in the middle. If you just adjust this slider here, you can sample what your project sounds like at any tempo. Let's try this one out. 143. Hey, this is just a recording test. Right. Okay, there's one last edit tool that I haven't mentioned to you yet, and that's called the split control. Now, if we just listen to this audio track quickly. Hey, this is just a recording test to make sure that everything's working okay. Now, I don't mind that, but I would prefer it if there wasn't this big gap in the middle. So what I'm going to do is move my playhead into the position where I want to make the first cut. And if you look down in this edit view down here, you get a bit of a more precise look. And then you go to either edit, split, or you can press Command and T. So that's made our first cut, and now I'm going to move it to just before the big transition here, transient even. And now I'm going to press Command and T to make that second incision, and making sure I've got the right bit selected, I'm going to delete that and move the two together. So if we have a listen to that. Hey, this is just a recording test to make sure that everything's working okay. And there you go, that about covers all of the basics of working with Garageband. Please revisit these videos if you're feeling hazy on certain things, and I promise you, keep working at it and you'll become a Garageband guru in no time. Over and out.